Building a business and life that blends contribution, fulfillment, and financial reward? Welcome to Your Next Chapter, the show for women in their 40s and beyond who are on this adventure. I'm Angela Rasmus, and I'm delighted you're here. Hey there, and welcome, and I'm really glad that you're settling in to listen to what I have to share with you today. Now, this is actually the first of what I intend to be many more solo episodes this year. I certainly love the interviews, and the one last week with Jodie Price was no exception, and there will be more of those happening. They'll happen each month. But I've also been thinking and feeling that there's lots of other stuff that I want to share as well, which is really designed to help you thrive in this next chapter. Now, a lot of these are personal experiences that I've had some time to process and sort of pull the golden bits out of, which I hope will be really valuable to you. But I'm also going to be looking at different aspects of what impacts us in our next chapters, things that I find personally fascinating from both a business and a personal development angle. And I'm trusting that if I find them interesting, then there's a pretty good chance that you will as well. But as always, one of the things that I love the most is hearing from you. So if there are topics that you'd really love me to dig down onto or explore, if there are things that you just haven't enjoyed and you'd like to give me that feedback too, you're most welcome. We all learn from what is best for our audiences by getting that feedback. And one of the places where the conversation can continue and deepen and broaden is if you pop across to the Your Next Chapter community. Yes, it is a Facebook group, and yes, we're often over Facebook groups, but I'm really working on making sure that this is more of an oasis online, that it's not just about, Top Tips Tuesday and Motivational Monday and things like that. That's not the design at all. It really is for a free-flowing dialogue and connection and inspiration and support and guidance. And I'm sure if you popped over and had a little bit of a look, you might find yourself wanting to stay. So you can just Google Your Next Chapter community in Facebook itself, and you'll find us right there. Or there will be a link on the show notes in this episode as well. So that's my invitation to you for today. So we are, by the time you're listening to this, we are well into February of 2020. A whole new decade, not just a whole new year, which still freaks me out when I think of that. And it means a lot of reflection, and it means looking forward and wondering, what do I actually want to do with this decade? And just a very small piece of it came to me. I turned 50 almost 12 months ago, and that felt like an enormous deal. And it was, and I am still celebrating the Festival of 50. If you're looking 50 down the barrel of a gun, I suggest that you adopt that Festival of 50 attitude as well, which was shared to me by a good friend. I've been celebrating the whole darn year. But that next birthday is coming up to me, and the 2020 scenario made me think, at the end of this decade, I'll actually be in my 60s. And that's a whole new chapter. So I got this real feeling that now is the time to become the best version of me. And that definitely means in a business sense, I've got some real clear plans for how I want to create more impact and be more supportive of my audience and my clients. But it also means the best version of me in a personal sense. And a lot of that has got to do around my energy levels so that I can serve my audience and you, but so I can actually do the things that I want to do as well, like physically and adventure-like. And so I've been thinking a lot about that. And I was actually away with my family in the second week of January on holiday up on the coast. And this is where this thought really started to dig in. Now, on holiday, I don't know about you, but I tend to just eat whatever I want. I see it as, it's my right. I'm relaxing. I'm on holiday. This is what I want to do. But what I could not help but notice was how my energy was really, really low. I felt incredibly lethargic, and also my mood was plummeting. There was negativity just running left, right, and center about, what was in store and what was going to work and what wasn't going to work and how I felt about myself and everything. So I really can't deny that there is such a link between food and mood. And so I wanted to start setting some goals around changing this. And this episode sort of cascades from there. It's about how to achieve your goals, both in a personal and a business sense. And I want to take you through what I discovered as I started to revitalize this particular focus point for me. And I hope you'll find it really helpful. So coming back again, this link between food and mood. Now, you've probably noticed it yourself as well. I mean, it's almost like an intuitive understanding that there is a connection. I mean, think of comfort food or celebratory meals. You know, they are tied to particular moods. But I hadn't really found scientific evidence until I started looking around. And I found a woman by the name of Dr. Sarah Dash, who is a nutritional psychiatrist. Now, there's another new thing I learned. I didn't know there was such a thing. And she is doing a lot of research here and sharing her findings on this emerging science on that diet mental health relationship. So if that is intriguing for you, it's definitely a good idea to go to the foodandmoodcenter.com.au and have a bit of a look around. And in the past decade or so, there's been more studies popping up from around the world, which are really showing us what we suspect, that our diet is important to our mental health. And look, there's no surprises here. In terms of when we follow a more healthy and traditional diet, you know, all those foods we know are good for us, you know, the colorful fruit and vegetables, the whole grains, the legumes, the healthy fats, all that stuff, it protects and enhances our mental health. And yep, it's unfortunate, but it's pretty unsurprising that the reverse is true as well. When you are consuming heaps of that unhealthy, like processed food, look, it's not only not great for your waistline, but it's not good for the way you feel. And those feelings that you have really do guide so many things that you do. So if you're feeling crappy, if you're feeling demotivated, if you're feeling negative, guess what? You don't take a lot of action. So no matter what your goal is, it makes it really hard to happen. Okay, so I really experienced that food mood link when I was on holiday. So when I came back to my desk to really commit to the year ahead and the decade ahead at performing, you know, at my best, I made 3 decisions. Okay, to help me do this. Number 1, I wanted to make positive nutrition choices every day. Number 2, I wanted to move my body more. And number 3, I wanted to bed back in, anchor into what I call the bookends of my day, how you start and how you finish your day. Now, that's such a subject in itself. I'm definitely going to do a future podcast episode on that. But for now, let's look at the keys that I have discovered and committed to actually make sure that these particular desires are put into action. So here are the keys which I've found have been really most important. And there's 3 of them. Number 1, it's really important to outline and more precisely define what that intention or goal looks like in action. So the one I said was to make positive nutrition choices each day. What does that actually mean? I need to put some boundary around it, some understanding around it. So for me, that meant no skipping meals and to have fresh, non-processed food wherever possible. Okay. The next one, to move my body more. That means getting to the local gym 3 times a week and adding in a walk or 2. Because, yep, I got a puppy now. And number 3, to start and end my day well with those bookends. Well, that means using a thing that I've been exposed to called the Tibetan rites. It's a way of waking up your chakras in the morning. Genius mind writing. Now that means pen to paper before you consume any media, just working with your own thoughts. And it means meditation using the Daily Calm app. Okay, so that's the first key, to define and outline what that intention that you have looks like in action. Okay. The second step is that I need to invest in what's going to help me make those things happen. What are the tools that I need? Now, or what are the additional actions that I need to take to make sure that it can actually take place? So for me, that meant investing in a thing called the Kim Beach app. Now, Kim Beach is a nutritionist and an exercise brilliant woman, and her app makes it so simple for me to actually just scroll and see what it is that I'm going to be eating today. Now, I'm not saying Kim Beach is the way for you, but if we want to make this easy, it's pre-preparing. It's me knowing in advance what I'm going to eat to make sure I make those positive nutrition choices that fuel my body, make me feel better, make me get more done. And to make that easy, to actually go out and get this stuff in advance and make sure it's in my fridge so that I can achieve that intention. Okay. It also meant investing in a local gym, not the one that's 20k down the road, but one locally that really works for me. And the reason this one works so well is because you have to book the classes in on the app. And if you don't turn up, they fine you. There's actually a fee. So that accountability has worked really well for me. Okay, and the other piece for me that's really important is the fact that I am in a mastermind and I have access to my mentor very regularly, and she really helps me make these positive choices. So that's the second point, investing in the help and the tools that you need to support the achievement of those intentions. Just setting the intentions not enough. You've got to set yourself up for success. And number 3, it's a concept called pre-commitment. Now, I wrote about this in a blog post. You'll find it on the front page of my blog, and I'll also link to it in the show notes. But pre-commitment is deciding in advance what actions or behaviors you're willing to do or not to do before you're actually confronted with the situation. So, for example, one of my decisions, one of my pre-commitments is not to drink Red Bull anymore. Yep, I was a Red Bull addict last year, and probably a little bit before that as well. But now that the decision has been made in advance, when I stop at a petrol station, a gas station to fill my car up, and I feel like some sort of beverage to drink, I just don't even see the Red Bull anymore. It's not a part of my options because I have committed in advance. So I don't have to stand there and battle with my own head. I've made that commitment. Another couple of examples is setting the alarm at a certain time in advance each morning, so that I have the time that is really important to me to be able to do those Tibetan rites, to do the Genius Mind writing, to do the meditation before I'm out the door to the gym. And it also means another point that I do here is I lay out my gym gear. It's there, ready to go, no excuses. So that pre-commitment to my own intentions is helping me make sure that I make them happen. Now, these are not just for these personal goals. You know, what I'm saying in this episode is that these behaviors, these supporting keys and tools can be used right across the board, because I certainly utilize them in my business as well. I set measurable goals that are both smart and heart. Smart and heart goals. You've probably heard of SMART, specific and measurable and achievable and relevant and time bound. That's really important because they're action oriented. They give you focus. That's an important part of your work. But on the other side, I like to soften that intention with making sure that there are heart goals there too. So a goal needs to tick these boxes for me as well most often. And heart, for me, stands for harmonious. I often talk about, contribution, fulfillment, and financial reward in harmony. So the goal has to be harmonious. It needs to be engaging. That's the E. It needs to get my attention and really get me involved. It needs to be aspirational. It's taking me higher or deeper or broader. It needs to be refreshing, a fresh idea that I feel excited about, and a little bit tantalizing. That's the T on the end. Again, I'll put this image in the show notes for this podcast, but balancing that SMART and heart goals really helps me. And that is that example of outlining and defining what an intention looks like in action, because I write out the goal and I make sure that it ticks those different boxes. Okay, and also the pre-commitment concepts that I said before. Well, I make sure in pre-committing to the priorities in my typical business quarter and week by using my Cascade plan and my weekly planner. And those tools are also available as downloads when you're inside the Facebook group. So please come across, and I'm really happy to give you copies of those. And of course, the other piece, which I mentioned before, was investing in the help that I need. Well, that means, yes, I am in that mastermind, which gives me that consistent emotional and strategic support across the year. But I will also invest in other classes or experiences or programs that close specific skill gaps for me. Not just in case learning, but just in time learning, dealing with a gap when it comes up. And I am invested in a program that's helping me with a particular business aspect right now. So those principles, those keys, outlining and defining intentions, investing in the help you need, relying on pre-commitment to get you through, they're all incredibly important. But by far, the most powerful tool that you have at your disposal for anything you're wanting to achieve in 2020 is to ensure that your internal dialogue is supportive and encouraging and liberally laced with self-compassion. Why is this so important? Because your thoughts create your feelings, and your feelings create your actions. Now, this is called the cognitive triangle in psychological terms, but just believe me here, since your actions create your results or your lack of results, this is something that you really want to adopt and practice. And I'll give you a specific example. Now, when I went back to the gym only 2 weeks ago, I'm a 50, almost 51-year-old woman who hasn't done a lot of exercise since soccer season finished last year. I have a rather curvaceous body, shall we say, and the gym that I'm at, I chose it for the reasons I mentioned before, and I love the variety in the classes that I commit to each week. But I'm certainly one of the older and less flexible people in the room, and when I started back, that first class was really, really hard. But because I have made this commitment to myself and I'm aware of the cognitive triangle, what I made sure that I did when I was in the midst of, oh my God, this is so difficult, I could have allowed my thoughts, the way my internal dialogue to start going down the toilet. This is so hard. I don't know what you're doing here. Look, everyone else is so much fitter than you. Really, you shouldn't even try. I could have gone down that path. And with those thoughts, how do you think I would have felt? Certainly not motivated. And what do you think I might have done? Probably left the class at the earliest opportunity. Now, I'm really aware of that, and I don't do this perfectly, but I was so conscious to make an effort on this particular day. Instead, I started telling myself, you've already got through 4. There's only 4 to go. I'm so proud that you got out of bed this morning and made it here. Look, you're already committing to your goals. You are doing fantastically. Don't look at what anyone else is doing. Just focus on what you're doing. You're going to do better each day. You're going to get stronger. You're going to get fitter. You're taking action. This is awesome. Those were the thoughts that I made sure was zooming around in my head, so that internal dialogue was positive. And as a result, I started feeling so good. I mean, not good in terms of, this was hard. It wasn't easy physically to do, but I felt good about the effort that I was making and the fact that I turned up. And that positive dialogue had me continue to take action. Okay, when I write my gratitude list at night, which is a part of my bookends of the day, I always end it with something that I'm proud of. And you can be pretty sure that what I'm proud about at the moment is these actions that I'm taking, even though it's hard. And with each additional positive message that I put into my psyche, my confidence and my competence is growing. Now, positive psychologists like Martin Seligman, I find it hard to say his name, have studied the impact of positivity hugely. There's some fantastic books on the subject. Google it to your heart's content. But even before then, way back in the 50s, Abraham Maslow, the fellow who did the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he said that a self-actualized person is someone who focuses on their talents and their strengths. So someone who takes the positive view and encourages themselves. So it's been around for a long time. And when I started looking at this more closely, I found that there are 7 things that mentally healthy people tell themselves. Now, you might not use these exact words, but the concepts are really important. So number 1, I'm lovable. Right? There's like unconditional positive self-regard there. We're all lovable. Number 2, I'm capable. I can do this. Number 3, most other people are lovable and capable too. That's extending that positive self-regard to the world around you. I like to think that everyone's doing the best they can. That's the way that I like to look at the world. Number 4, success comes from doing. Not thinking and planning, but actually doing. I've spoken before about how the actions of confidence come first and the feelings of confidence comes later. This is a similar sort of thing. So telling yourself success comes from doing what I'm doing. Number 5, challenges are opportunities. Yeah, I know that might make you raise your eyebrows and go, oh, I've heard this one before. But that is a mindset again. There is nothing that you cannot work out. Everything is figure-outable. I think Marie Forleo said that. But it's absolutely true. And that's why, as I mentioned before, asking for help is a big part of that. It's an opportunity to get assistance sometimes, and that is fine. Nowhere on the life charter does it say, thou shalt do everything off your own bat. Okay, which brings us to number 6. It's only human to make mistakes. You're not going to get it perfect. I don't get it perfect. No one that I know gets it all perfect. We make mistakes, we learn from them, we keep going. And number 7, the most important one, I have what it takes to cope with change and to make changes. Okay, so that's the one that I keep telling myself. Yes, I am able to change. I am able to achieve those intentions and goals that I have set. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to start growing these new neural pathways, these new neural grooves of possibility and positivity. And when you do this, you will build your self-efficacy. Now, self-efficacy is simply belief in your abilities to deal with situations. Okay, and that plays such a role in not only how you feel about yourself, but whether or not you will successfully achieve your goals in life. And that comes from the psychologist Albert Bandura. And here's the beautiful thing, my dear listener, is that the self-efficacy is transferable. Now, I'm growing it in the gym at the moment, but I know that it's also transferable across to my business. Now, there's no doubt the good nutrition is playing a big role in how good I'm feeling. I'm running lots of strategy calls at the moment for all the women that have joined the Next Chapter Circle Mastermind this year, and we dig down into their purpose, their vision, their mission, creating manifestos, setting the goals for the year, finding the gaps to close in the business, uncovering new possibilities for how they can grow and deepen. And my brain is like firing on all 4 cylinders, maybe even 6. And that's got so much to do with the fact that I'm taking good care of myself in those ways I've explained, but also because my self-efficacy is getting stronger and stronger. That recognition that I can do damn well anything, and so can you. Now, overall, as we're concluding here, this experience is just another example of my own next chapter model of change in action. Now, if you've not seen that, you'll find it on my website, pop it in the show notes, but it's a wheel that shows that there are several stages that we go through when we're moving through change. The first one is discontent. I was unhappy with how I was feeling. The second one is desire. What is it that I want to create? And that's definitely a healthier, more flexible and fit body. The third step, decision. You need to decide that you're not going to stay deliberating about this any longer. Make the decision, walk across the threshold. The next step is to design. What are you designing to support your ability to create this new reality? And then there's the actual delivery, the turning up and doing it. Now, in the middle of the next chapter model of change, there's all the doubts, the difficulties, the derailments, the things that can take you off course. That's all the internal dialogue of negativity if you allow it. But as we've discussed today, when you focus on making sure that your internal dialogue is supportive, self-compassionate, and positive, then you can quite literally move mountains. And I'd love you to try it out today. So there's lots we've covered here, but in essence, I guess what I'm wanting to tell you is that whatever it is that you want to achieve, you can. There are things to do to increase your likelihood or your ease of success, but you can absolutely make this next chapter, whatever it is for you, in business and life, come together for you. And I'd love to hear what you're going to focus on with some of these ideas that I've shared here today. So thanks so much for listening. I look forward to sharing more thoughts on the next podcast episode. And until then, take very good care. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Your Next Chapter podcast. I really do appreciate your time. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. And of course, my website, angelarasmus.com. If you enjoy the show, I'd love you to share it with another woman who's in the midst of business and life beyond 40. And if you love it, a review on iTunes or whatever app you listen in on would be fabulous. Reviews somehow impact that deeply mysterious algorithm and make it easier for the show to be found, which is always a good thing. So thanks again, and until next time, take care.